Hey there, it's Tuesday. And I
Mhm.
almost had tea today and then I walked out of the house without it.
So close.
And it was it was this new tea that I
Hmm.
have that my mom gave me.
Okay.
And it is peach mango and it's green tea. And
Sounds
so,
nice.
yeah. So, anyways, I'm going to try it for next time.
Okay. It's good to have
Um,
goals.
it is. I gotta write it down.
Yes.
Anyways, okay. So today we're talking about reflux, right? And how we can
Yes.
help that.
Yeah.
And in case you don't know us, then I am going to tell you who we are. So I'm Dr. Smith, and I'm from Accomplished Health and Wellness here in Lawrence, Kansas. And this is Heather Fiore, and she's from Free State Nutrition, also here in Lawrence, Kansas. And so that's how we have the ability to talk about this stuff.
That's right.
So that's what we're going to do today. Talk about heartburn, reflux. So we call it GERD.
Yes.
Yeah. So GERD is actually an acronym, and it's GERD, and it stands for gastroesophageal reflux disease. So if your doctor's like, "Oh yeah, I have GERD," you'll be like, "What?" Now you know. It's reflux.
So there must be some sort of cutoff of like you have it this often and then it's GERD versus just like occasional heartburn or something. Right?
No, it's all GERD.
Okay.
Yeah. We can't even code it as heartburn. It's coded as GERD.
Oh.
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah. So you can have like acute or chronic. So
Got it.
yeah. So now you know.
All right.
You're in the know.
So what's the difference between reflux and heartburn?
Nothing. So heartburn is the layman term for reflux. So heartburn is actually the feeling that you get as you're refluxing. So the acid in your stomach is not supposed to be in your esophagus, and your esophagus is your food pipe. That's like what starts here and it goes down and then it goes into your stomach.
Right.
And there's not supposed to be acid there. It's a nice pipe that just doesn't like that stuff. So as you have more acid in your stomach, it comes up through that gastroesophageal sphincter, which is like, we call it your lower esophageal sphincter or your gastroesophageal sphincter. It just means that it's the doorway. It looks like that. Closes, open, close, open. And it's there so that as your food goes down, it'll close. And then as it closes, the food stays in there. And as your liquid goes down, it goes through and it closes. And it'll open, obviously, if food is there or drink. And it closes so that the stuff stays in your stomach and doesn't go back up to your esophagus, because that wouldn't be good. And so when the acid goes back up, or if food can even sometimes go up, your stomach can even go up. It's called a hiatal hernia.
Oh, yeah.
Your stomach can actually move up. And a hiatal hernia actually is, there's actually a loosening of like the tissues around, and it allows the stomach to come up.
You have like a little pouch of stomach outside of you.
Yeah. So, and so that feels more like you have something stuck there.
Because you do.
Yeah. But indigestion is going to feel like it's burning in your chest. And so that's why it's called heartburn, because it feels like your heart is on fire. It's like burning. Indigestion, heartburn, GERD, it's all the same thing. The only difference that we have is heartburn with esophagitis and GERD with esophagitis and GERD without esophagitis.
Okay.
And so esophagitis is inflammation in your esophagus. So if you have chronic reflux going on, then you'll get esophagitis, and the esophagus will completely get inflamed. If that continues, if it's chronic over like years, you can get what's called Barrett's esophagitis. Barrett's esophagitis leads to cancer. So reflux can lead to cancer.
It's pretty serious.
It is, actually.
Yeah. And then you can get like scar tissue, right? And then you might have trouble swallowing.
Yeah. You can get scar tissue and narrowings in your esophagus,
right?
Called strictures, and then they have to go in there and they have to open it up. Yeah, which that's not very fun either.
No, but not being able to swallow is also not that fun, I would imagine.
You're right. Not at all.
So sometimes though, right, you can have reflux but not heartburn. Like you may not actually have
Silent.
that.
It's called silent
Mhm.
reflux. Yes. It would still be like classified as heartburn, but it's called silent reflux.
Okay.
And it's silent because you're not feeling it.
Mm-hmm.
And so that would be something where maybe you had some stomach pain going on,
Mm-hmm.
or yeah, that's usually, it would be a stomach issue or some belching or something like that. And you're not having heartburn symptoms. And then they would go in and do what's called an EGD,
Mm-hmm.
which is where they put a scope down your throat and then they look into your stomach. And they'll look for like the cause. Usually we're looking for an ulcer or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so they might find that, or we're looking for gastritis, which can happen. That's just inflammation of the lining of the stomach.
Mm-hmm.
And so you would be looking for that, and maybe they don't see that, or maybe they do see that. And as they're coming up, they look at and they see indication that they'll see esophagitis. Right? They'll see the acid burns in the esophagus.
Mm-hmm.
So then they call that silent reflux.
Got it.
Yeah. Baby's reflux.
Okay.
You know that? So your esophagus,
like babies just normally do that?
It's
Okay.
called spit up. Yeah, that's what your baby's doing, is refluxing when you spit up. If they vomit a whole meal, that's actually a large volume reflux. So when you're little, your your lower esophageal sphincter, your gastroesophageal sphincter, that actually does not close and strengthen all the way until you're 1.
Wow.
And so when we're feeding our babies and they vomit all over our shoulder, that's because we fed them too much, or their sphincter is completely open. Sometimes babies actually will have, like, especially if they're premature, they just are wide open and there's nothing tightening there. And so they'll like eat and then the whole thing will come up. Yeah, and so sometimes that will cause some growth issues. They won't be gaining weight properly and stuff. But for the most part, babies do pretty well. We don't hardly even treat it in babies anymore unless they're not gaining weight.
Got it.
But that spit up that they do, that's reflux.
Yeah.
Yeah. So even the small volume. So it's just, they ate a little too much. And maybe you laid them down, or or maybe that big burp brought it up. That can happen too. So
sure, that makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. Are there any other symptoms we should be?
Yep. Sometimes you can get coughing. Sometimes burping, constantly clearing your throat. If you have silent reflux, sometimes can present as difficulty swallowing, upset stomach, that kind of stuff. So usually if you have like gastritis, you can get some black stool.
Okay.
But that's, so you wouldn't ever, okay, so gastritis, because it's inflammation, and any kind of inflammation can bleed, so you can get microbleed, and a lot of times we won't ever see that, but sometimes you can as black stool. If you ever had bloody stool, that's most likely not related to this, because in order to have blood stool as something this high up, you have to like really be bleeding.
Yeah, it's usually lower down, right? If it's blood.
Do you know actually a lot, like one of the most common causes of lower like red blood in your stool is hemorrhoids.
Hemorrhoids, yeah. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So anyways, I think that's all.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you talked a little bit about like how you might diagnose it. Like there's definitely some tests, right? You go to the doctor and maybe complain about heartburn or some of these other symptoms.
Yes.
They might say like, take some medicine to get, take care of the symptoms, but they also might want to explore like, is it a hiatal hernia, or is there something else going on, gastritis, whatever, right?
Yeah. Actually the first thing, if somebody says, oh, I got some heartburn or whatever, we ask a ton of questions, and then we do a heart workup. We have to roll out the heart first.
Got it.
Even in young people, we're supposed to ask them all kinds of questions and make sure that it's not their heart. So that might be why like you get a cholesterol test.
Huh. Okay.
You know, because you're like, wait, I'm here for my indigestion and you're testing my cholesterol. But that's just, you know, and then they're asking you all these questions about anyone that dropped dead at a young age in your family. So that would be why, because heartburn can actually, so heart attack can present as heartburn. Yeah, it doesn't always present as like this crushing left-sided pain that goes to my shoulder and like I'm gonna die. Sometimes it can be an upset stomach. Sometimes it can be heartburn symptoms. So at certain ages, we would always rule out the heart first.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Then what happens?
Then, of course, we ask all these questions about when does it start and what kind of foods are you eating and that kind of stuff. And then we would try a medicine first. And if the medicine doesn't help, then we would go on to doing some studies like an EGD or you can do like a test for H. pylori, which is the breath test, or you could do a breath test for bacterial overgrowth, all kinds of,
So if the medicine helps, like, is that it? Like you take your medicine and off you go and like take that forever? I mean, some of them aren't really designed to do that, right?
None of them are, actually. You're only supposed to take them for 6 weeks at a time. Yeah, because the PPIs, which are proton pump inhibitors, they actually, because they lower the acid in your stomach, they can allow C. diff to come through, and that's a bacteria, and then it can get into your gut and create a really nasty gut infection, profuse, nasty smelling diarrhea, and then that has to be treated. And that's treated with antibiotics. Sometimes we're starting to see some resistant ones, and so then it's treated with a fecal transplant.
I know. Who discovered that? It's fascinating.
Do you know that was discovered when I was in residency?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I remember it coming out. And we used to, me and my friends, we just took that and ran with it. And so we created a Code Brown. We had a fecal transplant team and everything, and we called it the Code Brown.
Oh, that is terrible. That's terrible.
I know, but now it's like we were joking at the time because like who's gonna do that? But now it's actually mainstream treatment.
It's fascinating. Didn't it kind of start with this guy? Like I feel like I heard about a guy in England who had like terrible allergies, and for some reason he went to Africa and like paraded around in everybody's latrines.
Ew.
I know, isn't this the weirdest thing? And like it cured his allergies. Because he was like, he got all sorts of
nasty other
stuff, but it like, you know, kept his body busy. So
I'm just telling you that men do weird things.
I know. But it might be what led to the whole science behind
fecal transplant.
I
think it's actually, sure.
Sure.
I think, you know, when you get to a point that you're having somebody die of diarrhea, and then, you know, we do like transplants for livers and kidneys and hearts and lungs, and why not your feces? Right. You know? Makes sense.
It kind of does.
It's just gross.
It's for real.
I don't want to be on the team that has to put it in, or the team that has to like,
or the patient
clean it up, clean like the, you know, make sure, test it and make sure that it's good feces or.
Okay.
I think actually, I'm thinking that it might be autologous, where they actually take your own stool maybe and will clean it out and put it back in. But I don't know that for sure.
Yeah.
It might also be donor. Who gets on that list?
How much do you get paid to be a fecal donor?
I've got good feces. I can donate. Get $50 for to go poo. That would be great. I would so sign up.
See?
Okay. You know, it's easy money. You do it every day.
Right. I know. It's really just.
And I'm a healthy eater, so it'd be good food.
Lots of opportunities, what you're saying.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, but that doesn't fix our reflux.
No. So, okay, so there's medications that are not designed to be taken all like forever.
No, 6 weeks.
So then what?
You know, the biggest thing is that you have to work on all these other reasons.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
So
So the like lifestyle diet stuff.
Yes, you need to look at medicines that you're taking. Is there a medicine that you're taking that's causing it? Is there something in your diet that's causing it? Is there something that you're doing that's causing it? Maybe you have something else going on, like you could have diabetes that's you know, something that hasn't been found yet, and you're getting what's called gastroparesis, where it's slow to empty, your guts are slow to move, and your stomach is slow to empty, and so that would create an environment to make it easy for reflux. And so you could treat those other things.
Okay.
You know, one that is we kind of touched on a little bit is bacterial overgrowth,
right?
Which that creates more belching, like a constant belching, and that's because your bacteria that are in your gut, the good stuff that's in your gut, as it digests your food, it creates gas. That's like a byproduct, and so if you have a lot, it's going to create a lot of gas, right? Because they're all producing it. So you're going to have some bacterial overgrowth. So you can get belching and gas and like bloating and stuff like that. So then you would want to treat that.
Right.
So
is that just an antibiotic?
Usually they'll kill some of it off. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Usually with Metro, so there's like all these weird ways that I still remember things. So Metro is one of the medicines that we treat gut stuff with, and I always remembered it as like the Metro, like the high powered train, you know, the Metro that you get on. So the Metro goes through your gut, it cleans it out, picks it off. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's one of the things that we're treating about. So
got it.
So yeah, and then if it's, you know, sometimes like pregnancy does it because of hormones. That progesterone really relaxes everything, and then it creates an environment to have reflux. And then also you have this other being in there
getting
that's
bigger
like,
and bigger,
and making
more space.
And not only is it taking up space, but it's actually pushing things. You know, so like your gut is being pushed up and everything. So of course you're going to have reflux. So, you know, once the baby's born, that'll get better. Changing medicines, if there's a medicine that you could possibly use, or maybe if there's a medicine that you're using that you just don't need. Is it a supplement that you're taking? If it's gastroparesis, then we need to treat the gastroparesis, because treating that will treat the other.
Got it.
So there's all kinds of ways.
Okay.
Stress. Stress is another cause of indigestion, because it increases the cortisol, and that increases acid production, and so all of these things will create reflux. And so, you know, maybe doing some yoga. Maybe if you have like
management.
Maybe if you have reflux, though, you shouldn't be doing the down dog.
Maybe not.
Because it's just gonna.
Right. Maybe on an empty stomach.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
That's how bad your reflux is.
That's true. But again, stress, meditation, yoga, Pilates, those things that are going to reduce your stress. Maybe like if it's a stressful person, or maybe like if you can remove that person from your life, or if it's a stressful job, can you change jobs? But sometimes you just don't have that ability to change anything.
Right. Just how you react to stress.
Just how you react. And so, you know, maybe getting some coping mechanisms and doing some yoga and meditation.
You know what else, though? Adult coloring books.
Oh, yeah, I have one, actually.
It's very
I have
therapeutic.
Two. I have two. They're one's an anatomy one and one's a physiology one.
Of course they are. But you get your colored pencils out and you get in the lines, and it's all very
I read at the same time, and my kids are like, "Let me color," and I'm like, "No,
it's my book."
Then I can be like, "This is mine." But we have a lot of actually adult coloring books at our house. So. Yeah.
It's a real thing.
If you can find the time to do it, because that's the other struggle.
That's true. But like, you know, sometimes people like to unwind and watch TV, but you could unwind and like listen to a book and color.
You could, yeah. Or you could just listen to soft music or
Sure.
classical music or whatever.
Yeah. Or you could do your you could listen to like a guided meditation maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. You might fall asleep on your paper, but
But hey, that's relaxing too.
Relaxing. Yeah.
That means you need more sleep. That's
Right.
what that means. So what about smoking? Smoking must be a
oh
trigger
gosh, smoking
too,
does
right?
everything. It's bad for you. You
Let's be
know,
real, yeah.
smoking is so bad. It actually causes vasoconstriction in your body, and which isn't good.
Yeah.
So vasoconstriction is narrowing of your blood vessels. It also helps lay down plaque in your blood vessels because the tar
Right.
does all kinds of nasty stuff in your lungs. It paralyzes cilia and all kinds of stuff, so things aren't moving. But of course, yeah, it can do some indigestion. Mainly probably because of the vasoconstriction. So whenever you smoke, you think that you get this awe feeling. That's what I hear. I've never smoked.
Okay.
But my dad smoked forever. That's why I never smoked, because it was like repulsive. Anyways, and so when you smoke, you get this awe feeling because of the way that the nicotine binds to the nicotinic receptors.
Okay.
And I think it also binds to some of the dopamine receptors. And so it just gives this oh, I'm so much better now. But it actually raises your blood pressure. And I imagine it probably raises your cortisol level, which is going to, again, increase your acid. So,
which is so interesting because often that is the thing that people do. People who smoke, when they're stressed, they get a cigarette. Yeah.
And, well, that's what I was leading to. So you're stressed and you smoke. And then your body, your brain, you think that you're de-stressing, but your body is actually amping it up.
Yes.
So it's actually this weird thing that tricks your system into thinking something else is happening than it is. But it's not a good thing for you in any realm. And so, yes, it can. Coffee, caffeine can do it. So there's all kinds. So, quitting smoking, cutting back on your caffeine, alcohol. Right. There's foods, all kinds of foods.
Yeah, so it's a little individualized, right? Because you need to pay attention to what might affect you personally.
Yeah.
But things to look out for, certainly caffeine and alcohol. But then and smoking, acidic foods. So like tomatoes and citrus. So any of those type of foods.
So like oranges and
orange juice.
Orange juice. Sure.
Yeah. So watching out for those, and then like onions and garlic sometimes. I mean, all this is sometimes, right? And then
everyone's different.
Chocolate,
but I think chocolate also because of the caffeine.
Oh, maybe.
I don't know. That's what I always thought, it was from the caffeine more than the cocoa bean, but maybe I don't know.
It's unclear. But it's just a matter of you should track your symptoms, right? Keep a track of what you're eating and when you have symptoms, and you might be able to make some connections. Because if you just cut out all of these items, that's going to be very sad.
Yeah, and doing a food journal really helps, because then you can really okay, every time I eat this, then for me it's I get broccoli does it. Although I like broccoli, I don't get the burning. I get a lot of belching from broccoli. But also bell peppers. I can't eat any kind of bell pepper. It's awful. I will have these nasty burps and this nasty metallic taste in my mouth and heartburn. And everyone's like, oh, try this bell pepper or this one isn't supposed to do it. No, they all do it. Every single one.
There you go.
I do not eat any bell peppers. You know what I say? I tell people I'm allergic.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to die if you give me that. I actually will the whole, and the thing is, I don't even really like the taste of bell peppers. So to taste them the whole rest of the day is terrible. And so it's not something I miss, but when it's snuck into my food and then I'm like, and it only takes one bite.
Oh my gosh.
And then the rest of the day I'm burping bell peppers.
That is a bummer.
Yeah.
So greasy food too, though, is a thought.
Oh,
like
yeah.
like fried food, and sometimes spicy food.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
jalapenos do that to me.
Oh my gosh, when I was pregnant, like anything remotely spicy, it was just like bam, heartburn. Yeah.
Sometimes like I like jalapenos.
Mhm.
So I mean I don't like to eat them by themselves, but I like it in stuff. I love Mexican food, but sometimes my heartburn doesn't like it. So
Yeah.
my esophagus doesn't like it.
Yeah.
So you just kind of have to figure out what is your trigger, because
Right.
everyone's trigger is a little bit different.
Yeah. And it may not be that. It might be stress. It might be that you lay down after you eat.
Oh yeah.
It might be just like these babies that are overeating, and
Yes.
you might just be like overeating sometimes.
We do that a lot. We overeat. We eat through our cues.
We do.
And if you fill up your stomach and there's no place left for it to go, guess what? It's
Just
going to
makes
go
sense.
up.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So it may not be what you ate, it's just purely the
How much?
volume of it.
The volume. Yeah.
So eating smaller meals more frequently might be helpful. Don't lay down after you eat. That's sort of common sense. But
Yeah. Cut yourself off a couple of hours before you're going to bed.
Right.
Don't eat.
And if you're going to take a nap, you're going to have to do it like in a chair.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Gosh.
They do say like prop your bed up like 6 or 8 inches. That just seems really impractical. Like,
do you know, like that's
how would
like
you even
you
do
like.
that? What do you prop it on? Like cinder blocks? I just don't even know.
You don't have to prop it too much. A 2x4, actually. You would just lay a 2x4 and put the legs on the 2x4.
But this is like 6 to 8 inches.
But you're like going like this.
Yeah, you would fall down, wouldn't you?
You're like, you gotta have your sheets tucked at the end
to hold you in.
And like, could you have, I mean, seriously, this is a real question.
Okay.
Could you have intercourse with your
All
bed propped
slumpy
up
like that?
Like you might break your bed, it might
Maybe
fall off.
You might need handles.
Oh no. What's gonna keep your bed up like that?
I don't know. Yeah.
Pillows, like maybe it'd be better to do pillows, but I don't. They actually have these things they're about 6 to 8 inches actually, and they look like a cup. They look like a cup.
Okay.
And they're thick, and so you put them under the legs of your bed.
Okay.
And so they could. But so I've used them as stilts on the bed if like I, for whatever reason,
like you just want to be able to
want to push stuff under the bed or whatever. Yeah. So then I always did them on all fours.
Right, that makes sense.
But as like pedestals almost, but I don't know that I could sleep like that. They do have the beds, you know, that
those little
you could do that. But even so, have you ever tried to sleep like that?
No,
it's like not comfortable.
I can't imagine.
And it puts a weirdness on your tailbone.
Right.
And so that wouldn't be comfortable. So no, I don't know that I could do that.
All right. So just don't eat like 3 hours before
Cut yourself
bed.
off.
That would be best. Yeah. And then you can also like
and don't have intercourse like when your bed is at it. Like that. You might break yourself.
So also sleeping on your left side can help. So like pregnant women, it's not that they're overeating or doing any of those things. It's just that they're pregnant. That is what's causing. So there's not much they can do. But if you sleep on your left side, it helps a little just because of the way the stomach is shaped.
So the other thing also is, I'm going to say this as nicely as I can. Okay. There's another thing that can happen that's not pregnancy.
All right.
And that's called obesity. And like your belly, especially in men, men and women carry their fat differently. And so men oftentimes will carry it in their bellies. And so that if you've ever seen a heavy set man, they get this big belly, you know, and they have to pull their pants underneath it and whatever. And so that belly does the same thing as a pregnant belly. Okay. Like if you're laying on your back, it's going to make it hard to breathe. It's going to create reflux. So laying on your side will help with that too.
Got it.
And exercising and trying to lose your weight.
But also like the tight-fitting clothing, like can be a problem too.
Do people wear that to bed? Oh, you mean just
in general, like having a tight-fitting belt.
I'm not about all that, but some people are.
Yeah.
I'm always afraid that I might rip my pants. My butt's a little bit big, so I wouldn't want to like bend down and that would not be good.
So, but like having like a belt that's like
Yeah.
tightly fitting around your waist could contribute to heartburn.
This is true. Yeah.
So look out for that.
Don't do that. And don't wear tight-fitting clothes that are too small for you. And go to Walmart.
Just in general.
It'll create reflux in the Walmart.
All right. So back to just sort of stress,
Yeah.
just to wrap that up, because that's one of the key things that can impact like so many aspects of your life, right? But for sure, this is one of them. And it can only behoove you to work on stress management. Almost all of us need to do that.
Oh gosh, I definitely do.
Yeah. So
and even to like somehow figure out a way to reduce, like not just manage your stress, but reduce some of the stressors.
If you can.
Yeah.
That's
so, you know, if it's a time management issue, maybe can you figure out a way to help?
Mm-hmm.
If it's I need help issue, then, you know, seek out what you're needing the help for, whether it's your mood, or is it like help with the kids, or is it help with, you know, household stuff or whatever. I think that, and I am the worst person at this, I don't ask for help that often because I'm afraid I'm burdening people.
Mm-hmm.
But most people aren't going to say no. I mean,
right.
I wouldn't, if one of my friends came to me, or even one of my neighbors, and was like, I need help with this, there's no way I would say no. I would be like, sure, absolutely.
Right.
Let's
people
figure
like
out
to be
when
able
we
to
can
help.
do that. Yeah, so.
Yeah, don't be afraid to ask for help. And if you have a partner, like, make sure that you're sharing the burden of just the emotional
stress.
Yeah, just like
what they're there for.
The management of household stuff needs to be shared. Not just like that you give the other person tasks, but like that they're responsible for that task. Not that you have to tell them, okay, it's time to empty the dishwasher, but it's like, no, anytime it's full, you empty it, so I don't have to be involved. Like, that's how you reduce your own stress, not by just delegating tasks, but by making other people in charge of things. And kids can do this, can do their share too.
Yeah.
Like, they can.
Do you know what my kids were? They were driving me crazy. I'm just going to tell you.
Okay.
Crazy. And, you know, every parent loses it sometimes.
Not me. I've never lost it. I'm very cool.
And so, you know, whenever I lose it, then and usually that involves like me yelling.
Yeah.
And then I feel bad. And then I try to analyze that situation and see how I can like make things better.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this was my brilliant idea.
Okay.
And it's been working for 2 days now.
All right.
My children, they were being lazy and they were not doing their chores. And so what did I do? I told them that the only way they were going to get TV was doing their chores.
Yes.
And so I made, like, every chore will give you 30 minutes of TV.
Brilliant.
Yeah. And so then my daughter, my oldest, she's, you know, brilliant. And she was like, oh, well, then I'm just not going to watch TV today or tomorrow. And she's going to bank it. So then I had to change it. So now you can only bank 1 hour of your gained TV time for the next day or the next day after.
Funny.
So she can't like stay on TV all weekend long because, you know, and then she doesn't have to chores.
Yeah.
So no. And then if they, so like my daughter, she has to pick out her clothes the next day because we have trouble getting out of the house. So she has to pick out her clothes. So that is one chore for her.
Okay.
And she gets 30 minutes TV. And then today she was like, I don't want to wear those clothes. And I said, well, if I go pick those clothes out, then I'm taking your 30 minutes back. But if you go pick them out, then I'll just leave your 30 minutes alone. And then I walked out of the room and amazingly she had new clothes on. So it was working.
Yes.
TV is money in my house.
You gotta have the right carrot, and screen time is almost always good.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so there you go.
Okay.
Yep.
Stress managed. Check.
Cha-ching. Easy button.
Yeah. So work on that.
Yeah.
Manage your stress, whatever it is. Think about how you can respond differently to it, or manage it in a way that reduces the stress itself.
Yes. And the other thing with that, especially with kids, because I think kids create a lot of stress, and like with moms, and we're always doing everything. And here's the thing. if you go on Pinterest, or you could probably Google it, there are age-appropriate chores that kids should be doing.
Yes.
And why? Why should they be doing chores? Because we are teaching them to be adults. Do you want them to live with you forever?
Right.
No.
And it makes them feel good to feel like they're contributing, actually.
Yes.
They actually like it.
Yes, and we're teaching them for when they get older and they're living on their own and they have to do all these things.
Right.
Because they do. They have to do them all. So it's just, we're creating the individuals that we want them to be
thanking us.
Right? See? So anyways, don't be sad that your kids are doing chores. They need them.
Yes.
And it'll reduce your stress.
Yeah. Everybody wins.
Yeah. And don't go for the wine, because if the stress is giving you indigestion, the wine's going to give it to you too.
That's true. That is not a good stress management.
Yeah. So, okay.
All right.
So we beat GERD. We were talking about GERD.
We were.
We beat GERD to death. What
Yeah.
are we doing next?
Well, this is what we have here.
Do you know how many people have come in and talked about energy? I have no energy.
Okay.
We should do something like that
Okay.
next time, so that we can talk about, are there foods that we can eat that
Right.
are, I can talk about blood work that we can look for to
Right.
look for what kind of deficiencies you could be getting. But then if everything comes back negative,
What do you do?
what do we do?
Okay.
Yeah. So maybe we
Great.
should do that.
Let's do it.
And then we can give ourselves some energy for the summer that's coming. Spring. Spring.
Let's have spring.
Yeah. I'll take spring for a while. Except for the flooding. I'm not so big on that. Okay. So now you know all about GERD, how to help it. Now you know that next time we're going to be talking about energy and food. And hopefully you have a lovely rest of your day. And we will see you next week. Thanks. Bye.